and welcome back to the Personal Trainer Portal podcast. Today we're on episode 80. It won't seem it in podcast land, well, it might do. It's been a good few weeks since we did a last episode, so I almost forgot what I needed to say there at the start. How are you doing, Pete?
I'm very well. It's nice to see your face. It's been too long, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's been 3 weeks, which for us, that is quite a while considering most weeks we do it every week. Obviously here, every now and then, one of us is on holiday. But apart from that, it's been pretty much every week. So, yeah, it has been a while.
I think you're the worst for being on holiday, aren't
you? I'm the worst for being on holiday.
Yeah.
It's like, God forbid I have a good time and live the dream.
Well, I live in a holiday destination, so I suppose I've got that on you. But
well, exactly.
You get away a bit more than me, no? I mean, no, it's a competition.
But, not that it's
saying to the
extreme contest or anything.
I think you're away more than me.
I have been away a canny few times actually, and then in 5 weeks' time, I'm coming back out to see Mr. 11 Arif himself. I'm coming back out there to see the man, the myth, aren't I?
You are indeed, and this time, because I don't know if did we cover this on the earlier podcast last time?
I think we did.
Were we doing them last time you come?
Yeah.
And I accidentally booked a holiday.
Back to England.
Holiday, it was a wedding, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to a client of mine's wedding, and back in the UK, and Lewis was obviously this wedding had been booked in a while, and Lewis was like, "I'm thinking of coming over these dates or these dates, and is there any difference?" And I was like, "No, I'm about for both," but I wasn't, and he tended to book the dates that I had to be back for this wedding, so I still saw you, but I sort of left and flew back within your holiday, didn't I? But yeah, that's a holiday this time.
That's how much he actually wanted to see me when I was last over there. But apart from that, have you got anything for me? Have you got any type of would you rather? Have you got any questions? Have you got any type of interesting topics of conversation before the actual main topic?
I've got some interesting sort of facts for you. Just sort of curious things that you might not be aware of. The average person, woman, man, might not be aware of that. You'll think, "Oh wow, really?" So I'm going to start with God rest her soul, the Queen.
I think the Queen was still alive when we last did the podcast.
She was. Yeah. And did you see today they've officially revealed the cause of death on her death certificate?
No,
it was old age.
Oh,
old age.
Oh.
So there you go. So there's one fact for you. That's hot off the press, that news. But yeah, so did you know that it would be the king now, that he owns all the swans and dolphins in Great Britain?
All the swans and dolphins?
Yeah.
Really?
That is actually owned by the person royalty. The king now was the Queen a couple of weeks ago.
So when you say in Great Britain, do you mean the ones which are sort of, not in the sea?
No. Obviously the dolphins that frequent the Great British waters. British dolphins, not your foreign dolphins.
Yeah, I know, but at what point does it cross the border and it's not in Britain anymore?
Well, it's where your sea borders are, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you have your land. That's pretty obvious of where Great Britain is. But when it's in the water, at what point is it not British anymore? When you're in the sea?
There's just like a country. There's borders, isn't there? So, for example, the French fishermen and the British fishermen, they have areas and water they can fish, and obviously you can't just pop over French water and be like, "Oh, look, there's loads of like fish here. Let's have some of these," because then you're taking the French fish. So I suppose it works on that way.
Interesting.
So
I never knew that.
Yeah, and it probably goes on the species as well. If you get let's say, yellow-tipped, finned dolphin that generally knocks around America, just like come to, I don't know, swam up the Tyne, and was like, oh yeah. I suppose technically
that's what dolphins do usually.
He's probably not owned by the king or queen. So there you go.
Well,
so there's a little one. That's just whet your ass.
I was just going to say there about, do you know you said the queen died of old age?
Mm-hmm.
What is the threshold of dying of old age? Like, what age is it?
Old age. I mean, that's probably a Google question. What age is old age?
What are you going to predict before I type it in? I'm going to say 85.
I'm going to say 70.
Yeah, that's a good. Maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I'm going to stick with it. But it's probably more towards your. Yes. What age is classed as death of? It is, in the United States, anyone 65 or older is considered an older adult. The group is then subdivided out with people 65 to 74 considered young old, those 75 to 84 middle old, and anyone 85 or up as old.
So you were a little off the mark there, no?
So the die of old, it means that someone has died naturally from an ailment associated with aging. The same usually goes for dying of natural cause. Traditionally, no one's putting a number on it. I think it's like 70. But officially, according to Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, some other website, it says, it says the World Health Organization believes that most developed world countries categorize old age starting at 60 years and above.
Wow.
However, this definition isn't adaptable to a place like Africa, where the more traditional definition of an elder or elderly person starts between 50 to 65 years old. But for the most part, it's 60 above. Old age is considered like it's stepping in.
But that'll go on those figures on life expectancy, yeah.
So by the time, I'm 60, it might be 65 by then.
65.
65, so, coming alive.
The next fact, I don't know if you saw it, this was NASA. They were, I don't know if it was like, they were testing how they could divert an asteroid by a system called DART. And I think DART stands for something. Unfortunately, listeners, I haven't got what that stands for in front of me. But it's a technical term for this device or weapon they use or are testing on asteroids. So say there's a big asteroid heading towards Earth, they use this dart, right? And I'm not talking, you go to the pub, throw a few darts, don't you, have a couple of pints,
180.
But I don't, if you're an avid listener to this podcast, we love a vending machine fact, don't you?
Speak for yourself.
And we know the Japanese love a vending machine, but yeah, NASA do as well. So they didn't actually shoot a vending machine at the asteroid, but it was the size of a vending machine, this dart. And there's a camera on the dart, the vending machine dart, of it hitting the asteroid and diverting it. So, I just thought I'd bring that to you because, we love a bit of vending machine.
When was that?
Oh, just the other day. It was on my Twitter.
That must be true.
Right. So to take it a little bit more light-hearted, fact number 3 for you is, did you know what... I'm going to ask you a question first, right? imagine a town or a village. What's
Horse.
the worst name? Obviously keep it clean, no swear words or anything. But what's the worst name you could
Horse.
imagine a village or a town to be called? What do you say?
Horse.
Horse. Horse.
Horse called town.
Dear. And that's a classic joke, that one. You've got to dig deep on the archives for that. But yeah, like, what would it be? You wouldn't want, let's just say you wouldn't want this on your, when you say, oh, can I have your address?
Yeah.
For sending a letter or whatever. You
Well,
wouldn't
there's a town, I can't remember if it's around here or in County Durham, I can't remember. There's one called Cockermouth.
Oh, there is. Now that's unfortunate.
Where's that at again?
It's Cumbria, isn't it?
Is it Cumbria?
Cumbria, yeah. Because not to take the tone of the podcast down, but
Yes, it's Cumbria, yeah.
Was it not Cockermouth where there was people drowned that were picking
What were they drowned
in the bay?
Oh, right. No,
I think they
I'm
had,
not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they had immigrant workers and stuff, and they were out picking cockles, as you do, and they drowned. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no. So yeah, any others?
Well, there's. I know there's another one in Darlow actually called Cockerton, which is similar to Cockermouth. There's a lot of cocks about in the towns.
There is.
Don't know why there's a lot of cocks.
I noticed that's where your mind's gone with those two suggestions.
Yeah, well,
that's interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting that it seems to.
I said keep it clean, and you've gone there.
I have kept it clean. They're legitimate names.
Yeah, but they're also the name for something else, aren't they? That's where we've going to run into some.
Go on, then, give me one.
Dull.
What?
There's a village called Dull. Dull.
Really?
Guess where it's paired with?
What it's paired with?
It's paired with a town or a village or a city in America with an equally bad name.
Grey.
Boring.
I was going to say boring, but I was like, surely there's not.
So Dull is paired with boring, and they're paired with another one in Australia. Can you imagine what that name would be?
I'm not sure.
Bland. So Dull, boring, and bland is.
Wow. Well, let's make this podcast anything but.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, you imagine writing that on your address.
Yeah, that would be pretty dull, wouldn't
it?
Hey. Anyway,
so, yeah.
That was interesting. Actually, learned a few things there today.
You've learned plenty of things there, haven't you? Have you got anything for me?
I have nothing for you. I haven't done my research today. I actually don't have my research. But today I haven't even mentioned the title. That's how I can tell I haven't done a podcast in a while. Usually I introduce the podcast and I say this is what we're going to be talking about, but I haven't yet. So today we're actually going to be talking about the 3 biggest reasons you're struggling to get clients. I know we've done a few similar podcasts because that is the whole sort of main core reason why we made this podcast, to help you get more clients and improve your business. But we're going to talk about the 3 main reasons we think, in our opinion, you struggle to get clients. Me and Pete, if you didn't know, we've started in a public gym in 2015, so 7.5 years ago. So Pete, what would you say is the first thing or first main reason why people struggle to get clients?
Well, the big one, I think, and I mean we'd agree with this, is they're not speaking to enough people. It's that awkward thing where you might not, you might be quite outgoing, but no one not a lot of people are comfortable approaching strangers essentially. And that might be because they're approaching it the wrong way. In their heads they're thinking, I'm only talking to this person because I want to, get them to PT. And it's that awkwardness, not knowing what to say, not coming across salesy, like a car salesman or a PR. So it's definitely probably not speaking to enough people. Sort of sitting there and expecting them to speak to you rather than going after yourself. And I think when we both started, we can definitely relate to that. I mean, I know for a fact, and I still know now, or I still feel now, I'm not the most comfortable going up and approaching people, but I have an idea what to say to them now, how not to come across, like that salesman, not just to say, hi, my name's Pete, do you want PT? Because, they'll either run a mile or put the headphones on or just awkwardly say, no thanks, see you later. But I know the importance of it as well. So
I think it's one of those, isn't it, where like if you don't speak to enough people, you're not giving yourself a chance to actually sell.
Well, exactly. You're sort of gambling with the idea that people are just going to look across and think, I need a PT. Oh, that guy looks all right, or that girl looks all right. I'll just go and see if they want to PT me. And quite frankly, it doesn't really work. I mean, me and you had it occasionally, didn't we, when we would be on gym floor, on shift, whatever it was, and someone would come up and approach you. But, to build a business, that is not the approach that I'd recommend to anyone. You're not going to get enough customers unless, you've found the end of the rainbow or something and you've got infinite luck.
Exactly.
You're just not going to do it. So, to build a sustainable business that you can grow and be successful in, provide a living, you're going to sort of have to chase them. You're going to have to go and speak to them rather than just waiting for them to come to you.
And the thing is, the more people you speak to, as I said before, the more chances are you are going to get someone who is interested. If you're only speaking to 10 new people on the gym floor on an average week, let's just say, and let's just say out of every 10, 3 people are interested. And out of 3 people who are interested, only 1 books a consultation, right? Well, what if you then up that to just 20 people a week? So you're doubling it, but still 20 is very achievable. That's only a few per day. That means that if those conversions are right from 10, that would mean that 6 people would be interested if you spoke to 20, and 2 or 3 might book a consultation. But then if you know that 1 in every 3 consultations then convert into a client, you then know that all you need to do is speak to at least 20 people on the gym floor to increase your chances of getting a client. And obviously that is a generalization, but I'm just showing that the more people you speak to, the more chances are you're actually going to be able to get a client. And then speaking to people is one thing, but we also need to know what to do when we speak to people. It's not, it's one thing just going up to someone and just striking up a conversation. You're not mates at a bar. You're trying to run a business here. So the next step, and the second biggest reason, is you aren't building enough know, like, and trust. And we talk about this all the time. The first thing is you need to speak to people. And then once you know that you need to speak to people, you need to know what to say. So when I say build know, like, and trust, it ties in to knowing what to say, but also adding value. So what I mean by that, and again, I know I've spoken about this a lot, going up to someone, for example, saying, look, I'm Lewis, I'm a PT. I noticed that you've just signed up to the gym, or I've noticed you're looking at the instructions on the machine. Is there anything I can help you with? And then 9 times out of 10, they might say, no, there isn't, purely because they don't want to be seen embarrassed that they don't know what they're doing. But you could just say, oh, that's absolutely fine. Well, I've just helped Julie over there help with her squats, and she really enjoyed it. So just to let you know, I do have 5 minutes. And then usually they'll be like, oh, actually, yeah, you know what? I really do need a little bit of help. And then all you need to do is show them a few exercises, which if you're a PT, you should know how to do. For 10 minutes, show them how to perform them with good form, why they're going to be doing it. And as we always say, we're not talking about our services at this point. All we're doing is striking up a conversation, building up a little bit of like and trust, and you're demonstrating your value. You're demonstrating what you can do. You're not mentioning anything about PT. You've just said that you are a PT, but you haven't tried to sell. And then building that know, like, and trust, that's the catalyst for turning someone into a client down the road. But have you got anything to add to that, Pete, about like building know, like, and trust?
I think, I sort of touched on it there when I was talking about people actually not having the conversations and, not knowing what to say to people. So we can all have conversations. We all have conversations with people throughout the day, whether you go to the coffee shop, whether you go to the post office, corner shop, whatever. You might have a little bit of small talk. But what Lewis is talking about on this point in terms of building that know, like, and trust isn't you. You need to introduce yourself. You need to pass a nice at ease, how are you? How's your day been? But there then has to be some sort of direction of that conversation. There has to be some sort of direction with the questions that you're asking, because that conversation needs to flow and it needs to go to a direction. And we've talked about this conveyor belt, and I don't want to get bogged down in that too much on this podcast, but the idea is you're, starting them on the conveyor belt and moving them along that through conversations, through giving them value, through, having a consultation, follow-ups, things like that, until they become, they know you, they trust you, they like you, and they want you to help them with their fitness, with their nutrition. So, talk to them, but you have to know what you're saying. And that you can do that by, rehearsing with your friends, your family, and having a sort of a template in your mind of what.
Or if you head to our link in the description where we've got a completely free template.
Great plug that was. So what Lewis is saying there, on that link, you'll get to see an idea of what sort of things you should be asking. Open-ended questions that's going to get you information that then you can follow up with, and get to know what their struggles are, their problems. So that's another thing. And if you have that template, suddenly that conversation that you found awkward or didn't want to do in the first step is a lot easier, because you're going into it with a bit of a framework and a template. You hopefully, when the more comfortable you get with that and the more conversations you have, the easier it is, and it just flows. And then you're thinking, why didn't I like doing that a few weeks ago? Because it's simple, and people will open up to you, and then that'll increase your chance to turn them into a client. But if you're just talking to them about, who you are, your name, the weather, the football match that was on last night, great. That you get a bit of information, have a bit of chat, but then the conversation ends, and you've just wasted 20 minutes talking about football, talking about the weather. That person thinks great, but they are no further really, or they're to a point where they know you, they've had a bit of a conversation, but that's it. You haven't sort of hinted that you PT, you haven't sort of given them anything to relate to, you haven't helped them in any way. They're not seeing you through, as a way of helping you. They're just seeing you as, someone that seems all right, nice enough to talk to. So you've got to lead those conversations, and like Lewis says, that's all about that building know, like, and trust.
Exactly. So the third thing, we've covered 2 reasons up to now. One of them being you're not speaking to enough people, and 2 being you aren't building know, like, and trust. The third one is you don't know how to sell. So once you've gathered that you need to speak to more people, and then you build that know, like, and trust through demos, conversation, and showing that you're the authority figure, you then need to actually put them down that conveyor belt to then becoming a client. Well, how do you do that? Well, you need to sell. So what I mean by that, and we've spoken about this a lot, is after you've delivered know, like, and trust, you're given a demonstration of how they can perform certain exercises which will work for them. You could then say, oh, your situation actually reminds me of one of my other clients, Julie. I'm going to use Julie again. And she had a very similar struggle to you. She was struggling to lose weight. She was bursting into size 16 tops, and she didn't know what to do in the gym. Her diet wasn't very good, and she was overwhelmed with what she was doing. But now I've been training her for 4 months, and now look at her. Then you could show her maybe like a postcard or something like that. And then you're not actually selling to them. You're just getting them to relate to one of your clients, and naturally they might say, all right, okay, I'd love to be able to do that. Is that what you do? And then, for example, you could be like, yes, I'm a personal trainer. And you could then, you're not being pushy. You could just say, well, how about we set some time aside in the next few days when we're both free, and we can go into the consultation room. We can have a chat, no obligations. It's completely free. I can find out a little bit more about you, and we can actually see if you're a good fit. Because if you're trying to shove it down someone's throat that they need personal training, naturally they're going to rebel against it. They're not going to want it. If you just say, oh, I'm a PT, yep, you're going to get great results if you go with me. Look, why don't we book a consultation, then we can sign up for a block of 5 and then we can do this. They're naturally going to be turned off it. And Pete and I always use the analogy of being in a car dealership. If they try and shove a car down your throat, not literally, because that would be difficult.
That would hurt.
That would hurt. Naturally, you don't want to buy it. Whereas if you just say to that person, look, we can have a half an hour chat. I can get to know a bit more about you. You can get to know a bit more about how I run things. And then we can just see if it's a good fit. And if it is, we can take it to the next steps. And then you can, get the results just like Julie did. So that's part of the selling. So once you've got them into a consultation, it's then knowing what to say in the consultation. And I've done a few videos about this. And I'm not going to go into depth at all about this because you've got to be one of the PTP members to know more information about that. So I'm not going to tell you too much because that's like the cherry on top of what we're given right now. So what would you say, Pete, then about people who don't really know how to sell? What would you say is the best thing they should do? Do you think they should sort of practice the conversation techniques, or what would you recommend to someone who doesn't know how to sell?
I think that if you're not sure how to sell, it's probably an area you need to seek help in.
And it is always hard at first, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it is hard at first. And for me, if you're going into a consultation without a clue of how to sell, or not even having a structure to that consultation, you've done a lot of the heavy lifting to get someone into a consultation, so you really don't want to mess it up. So going into that without a structure, so first of all, obviously seek help. Then I'd try and structure my consultation so I know, because it's still that thing of you might not know the person that well, so you've got that little bit of awkwardness. It'll be awkward. If you think it's awkward for you, it'll be worse for them because they think, it's like when you go to the doctor and there's something wrong with you. Like it's awkward sometimes if it's a personal issue or illness. Explain to them because you don't know them that well. You might have seen them once or twice for a checkup, but and you're talking to them and you almost feel like they're looking down on you because they've got the knowledge, and you've got to get across the problem to them, and you find it awkward. So I think it's that situation. So if it's awkward for you, it's going to be twice as bad for them. So you've got to keep that in your mind and think how you can break the ice, how you can make them feel comfortable. But having a structure, whether that's a document electronically or written out in front of you with key questions that you need to ask someone, and you should have prepared these because these questions you're going to use them multiple times, and these will get to know what their issues are, their problems, what their goals are, things like that. You can then collect some of that information, and then conversations can start from their answer. So you say, what's your biggest problem with the gym? And they say, well, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. Then you can say, well, why is it you don't feel like you know what you're doing? And then something will come from that. And before you know it, you've got a lot of information off them, and it flows.
You want to get them to open up.
Exactly. You want to lower those barriers. So having a structure, having questions, having it rehearsed, whether you practice with your family, friends, yourself, that's going to make it easier. You're going to come across less awkward or uptight, and your body language will have an effect on their body language and how they feel. So that's definitely an area. So you need to seek help if you're unsure how to sell, whether that's through us or other means. There's a lot of resources out there. But just remember, don't go car salesman, PR, like we in Tenerife, go down the front for a meal, and these PRs just jump on you, and you might not even know where you want to go, but it puts you off. You know that for a fact. So when you get them into a consultation, you've obviously got them to a point where they're comfortable to come to talk to you about how you can help them with coaching. You don't then go, right, this is how much it is. Here's how you sign up. Let's go. Because then they think, what? You didn't do, you helped me in the gym. You gave me value, showed me how to do a squat. You gave me a nutrition plan, whatever it was to get to this point. You checked in with me, you followed up with me, and now you just want my money, straight away. So you've got to sort of use that consultation as just a way of polishing off those conversations, that value you've given to someone along the way, along that conveyor belt again that I've touched on.
Yeah.
So I think, you've got to get that across. You've also got to get across to them what your plan is for them. How are you going to help them get from A to B? And what does that vehicle between A to B look like? What can they expect? And then sort of giving them your package of what you offer and telling them how each part of that package helps them and helps their problem, making it tailored to them, not just a off the shelf program. Oh, here's a program, it's got a nutrition plan, tells you what to do in the gym, crack on. So all of those things are going to help you sell in that. But you definitely need to have a plan, know what you're doing with the consultation. Otherwise, you don't want to blow it.
There you go. So the three main things we've covered there are you're not speaking to enough people, you aren't building enough know, like and trust, and you don't know how to sell. Master these three things, I can absolutely guarantee that you will be a successful PT on the gym floor. You'll be a fully booked PT and have all the clients you want if you nail these three things consistently over time. So as we said earlier on the podcast, if you want a link to a free script template of what we've got, where it'll tell you exactly what you can say to someone on the gym floor to strike up a conversation and add value. So don't forget to do that. And don't forget to rate the podcast as well, 5 stars if you liked it. If not, you can rate it lower. But thank you for watching episode 80. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.